A show based on the facts, honesty, the man, the myth, the legend. ChristiTutionalist, Joseph M. Leonard.
Welcome to ChristiTutionalist Politics Podcast, aka CTP, in association with TheLibertyBeacon.com, and I am your host, Joseph M. Leonard, and that's Leonard. CTP is your no muss, no fuss, just me, you, and occasional guest type podcast. Really appreciate you tuning in. As Graham Norton would say, let's get on with the show! Hey gang, welcome to the show. For those on the video behind the scenes, you can again see I'm wearing my Rick Springfield singer-songwriter t-shirt from his Shock, Denial, Anger, Acceptance tour, and that's because I've got yet another singer-songwriter on. So I thought, well, this is the close to apropos a shirt I have. So welcome to the show, Robert Roos. Yes?
Thank you very much for having me. Much appreciated. And I kind of go by Robert, but Robert, you're not too far off because I'm originally from Canada, and I'm from the French speaking part of New Brunswick. It's where I'm from. Pretty much everyone bilingually speak English and French. So I went to a completely French school from grade 5 to grade 9. So I was called Robert.
But in the U.S., with your album, you go by, generally, the country stations will call you Robert Ross. Yes.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
people keep asking me if that's a stage name because they figure it's a stage name. But no, that is my real name, Robert Ross.
Okay. I wasn't going to think to ask that. So, hey, glad you volunteered it. But at any rate, also, the tie to Rick Springfield, he's originally from Australia. You've got Australian heritage also in you.
Yeah, great artist, Rick Springfield. Great admiration for his music, and that's a flashback for me.
But the Australian connection is what?
Well, I'm a dual citizen, Canadian Australian, and I took my Australian citizenship on in 2014. I moved from Canada. I grew up in Canada. I was born in Canada, and I grew up there. And then I moved to Australia in 2009, and then took on my Australian citizenship in 2014. So I carry 2 passports, the Australian and a Canadian now.
Or as I like to joke, I'm in Detroit, so I could literally, I'm in Wyandotte, a downriver Detroit suburb, right on the Detroit River. I'm almost, if I weren't such a wimp and out of shape, I could almost literally go down a couple blocks to the river, throw a rock at Windsor, Ontario.
You're so close. You're so close. You could be almost considered a Windsorian.
Yeah, right. or as I like to say, Canuckians.
Canuckian. Right?
At any rate, and in all seriousness, you're not here to joke about that. Indeed, you are a singer-songwriter. What? Well, let's back up. All right, you kind of said where you're from, but yeah, what else about growing up and your influences growing up that may have made you become a singer-songwriter?
Yeah, where I grew up on the east coast of Canada in New Brunswick, it was there's always house parties going on and people singing, and that was the kind of entertainment we had on the weekend. People weren't going out to clubs. There were dances that happened at a social club and things like that, but for the most part, a lot of people hung out and go to a friend's home, and there'd be a big house party, kitchen party, kind of thing. And so music kind of developed in me that way. And then my mom, she was always singing. She had such an ear for music. It was amazing. And back then, didn't have YouTube and all those other things where you could rewind, and that she could listen to a song on the radio and then write it down just from hearing it the first time.
Wow.
Absolutely incredible. Yeah, incredible. Every once in a while, it'd take her a couple of goes at it to listen the next day to hear the song again to get the rest of it. But she was phenomenal that way. She was always singing around the house, and so that's where that developed in me.
I grew up in musical family, so I dabbled in writing and recording music in the late 70s and 80s. But unlike my dad, I never got a record deal, so I'm an author instead today. But my dad, nor was I ever really in. I appreciated polka music, but my dad was the creator of Ted Leonard Jr. and the Polka Kings, and they've got 3 albums. So,
cool.
I grew up in music also, and a lover of it from that. And I indeed did try to go into it, but it never panned out. But so here we are today. So I'm glad it worked out for you.
Well, it's getting there, and it worked out for you too. You're doing well.
Like I always say, could be better, could be worse, right?
Absolutely. It doesn't matter how bad we have it. It could always be worse. We have to be very grateful for what we have.
All right. The write-up from your marketer, promoter, PR guy, whomever that we connected through. Robert Ross is set to captivate audience with new singles, Drink 'Em Down and Mama Song, on July 26th. Well, by the time this airs, they will have dropped already. These highly anticipated track, of course, he's playing you up, and hey, I want to do that for you too. Mark a journey showcasing his deep-rooted influences and heartfelt storytelling. So, yeah, what are the inspirations for Drink 'Em Down and Mama Song?
Well, Drink 'Em Down. It's kind of funny because I always say that I don't really write. I put it down on paper, but it's a gift. It's a gift from God. You know.
Not to interrupt you, but I got to interrupt you because I say that all the time about my books. They are not of me or from me. They are through me.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I normally don't sit down and say I'm going to write a song today. It doesn't happen. It comes to me, you get the inspiration, and it just pops out and it's there. And however length of time it takes for it to happen. Drink 'Em Down. There was I'd often heard people talk about coming home and finding their partner, their loved one, cheating on them in their own home, and that kind of always niggled in the back of the brain kind of thing. So it's not from personal experience. It's just from, it came down and put it down on paper. So that's kind of where that song came from. But it happens so often, and you hear about it so often. And how do people react about it? Well, they usually head off to the pub or something, and then, they drink them down. So and then, you always have friends interjecting in the conversation that you go on through life as people go through these breakups in that circumstance. And, they say you're better off, just forget about it, move on with life. And so I incorporated that's what was incorporated in the song.
Well, it is kind of the proverbial or the joke stereotypical cheating song.
Yeah,
cheating song.
That's right. You get a lion cheating, hurting, there you go. There's pretty stereotypical for a country song, but even though it's kind of a dark subject, a hurting, deep subject, the music behind it that we put to it gives it that toe tapping, a light feeling to it. So it kind of blends the two.
Yeah, for whatever reason, I say, hey, we hit record and we just raw, uncut, go down the rabbit holes. But now when we're talking about stereotypical songs, country, Allan Coe, the song, the perfect country song.
Perfect.
I love that. So tongue in cheek and so.
Yeah.
What a great song that is. But at any rate, let's get back to that.
No, that absolutely brilliant song.
Yeah, and I don't have to like somebody to appreciate music coming from musical family. Like I like to talk all the time. Like I call her Lady Gag Me. I can't stand her as a person, but Poker Face. How forever long have we talked about someone putting on a poker face? And she was brilliant enough to put it into a song finally.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I'm not a Bruce Springsteen, as I call him, fan either, but Glory Days. Most people play sports when they're young.
Yeah.
Everyone has a Glory Days story.
Yeah.
That's a brilliant song. But
Absolutely.
now I've gone off the rails again. Let's talk about Mama's song. And I take it it's about your dad, right?
Yeah, you nailed that one right on the head.
It's ironic, right?
No, actually, back in it was in January. It was cold here in Nashville, and I just come home from Sunday morning, and I just come home from church, and I came into my office and I sat down, and I have a picture of my mom sitting in the corner of the desk here, and I was looking at it, and again, the song just fell out of me, and I had it down on paper in about 20 minutes. So, and it was just the memories that were coming to me about her and how she was singing and her, her favorite gospel songs and how I felt the love that she had for me, how I felt that through even a simple touch. So those were the emotions and the feelings that were running through me. And then the song just came out, it just fell out on paper in about 20 minutes.
Yeah. I had on the other day, or recorded the other day. Again, who knows how the order of these shows will drop, but someone else with Richard Lynch, I think it was with the same agency. And we were talking, he's doing a whole album of covers. So that was kind of interesting. And Conway Twitty came up during that discussion. And I see in the notes here, it claims you were influenced by country legends such as Johnny Cash, love him, Merle Haggard, love him. I also, George Jones, all those. Someone mentioned Vern Gosdin the other day. Like, oh, wow, that's a name I haven't heard in forever. Yeah.
No, like all that music, that whole generation, they were so phenomenal. And the thing that I loved about them was that when you turned on the radio and you heard a song come on, by a couple of bars, you knew who it was. And if you didn't know that, then as soon as you heard the voice, you absolutely knew who it was. And that's one thing I really loved about that generation of music. It was unique. They were all they're all great in their own way, but they're all unique.
Yeah, and for whatever reason, Freddy Fender, till the last teardrop falls, popped into my head. It's like, a whole flood of my youth of country artists are flooding through my brain right now. It's like, because I like classical, though I don't listen to that very much, to gangster rap, don't listen to that very much either. But my preferred genre is more like a heavy metal kind of side, but love country, love pop, love light rock, love heavy metal. My dad, again, Ted Leonard Jr. and the Polka King. So my last name is Leonard. It's not French. To your French roots, it's not Leonard. It was probably Leonard Owatskowicz at some point. Shortened to Leonard, but I'm also Italian and German on my mother's side. So I grew up with so many Elvis and so many brands and blends of different range and genres of music that I've come to appreciate it all. So unfortunately, I think a lot of people kind of get stuck and limit themselves. So if they're not a country fan, why do they need to get this album?
Well, it's just good fun, and there's a good mix. There's a good mix of it, and it's songs that people can relate to. Everybody knows someone that has gone through a breakup, or they have gone through a breakup themselves in different degrees of a breakup. Everybody has their mama that they love, whether they're still here with them or they're with God. With those two songs, and then there's a lot of other fun tunes on the album also. There's one on there called Zoe the Hell-Raising Angel, about heading down to Broadway, and being led astray by this lady, So there's lots of fun in it, and it's I try to kind of equate my style of music to the 90s country with a little bit of taste of traditional and a little splash of rockabilly. So it's a good, it has that beat, like the 90s beat, that keeps the song rolling and pushing and driving. So that's kind of the whole feel of the album.
Not the old kind of also stereotypical twangy country.
Yeah. But I've incorporated, like I have steel guitar, I have fiddle, I have banjo incorporated into them, but it's blended in there. My producer did a wonderful job of, blending all these instruments in together. So it has a great feel to it. It doesn't have that twang, but you can feel an essence of it. But, it doesn't have the rockabilly, but it has an essence of it. So it's kind of a neo-traditional style of country music, which is the genre that I tend to relate to more.
Okay, another way off the beaten path rabbit hole I'm going to go down, because some people will see this on the behind the scenes video version as opposed to the 20 plus audio only platforms that it mainly is carried by. I see behind you Soar with the Eagles poster. Purposefully placed or just happens to be there? What's that influence on you?
Well, yeah, it's great, and it's true. I've always felt that in my heart, and I actually have an eagle tattoo on my shoulder. So eagle is my I don't know what, a spirit bird
spirit
or
animal. Yeah,
I have a connection to the spirit of an eagle because they, the gracefulness of them, the beauty of them, they're majestic, and they can soar above everything. It doesn't matter what it is, all the rubbish that's happening anywhere, they can just pop up in the air and just float there and glide and soar above it. But yeah, that poster there, my beautiful other half, Sue, she got that for me when we moved here to Nashville.
Okay.
Because in the music industry, of course, there's always all kinds of craziness. So, having that, soar above it.
So
and we will.
If you've not yet written, I expect to hear on another album soon a tune called Soar with the Eagles from you. Huh? Yes?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah. Well, that's a good possibility. I'll let that niggle away in the back of my brain. And
please do.
It may come to fruition one of these days.
With credit to Joseph M. Leonard and the ChristiTutionalist Politics Show. I'm not a member of ASCAP, so I don't expect a royalty. But hey, I'd appreciate a shout out somewhere on the album.
Yeah.
Which, again, another rabbit hole. My name is on the Jethro Tull Crust of a Knave album, on the actual album, inner album sleeve, me and others that had a chance to hear and critique the album before it was officially released. All our names are on the album. So while I don't have an album of my own, at least my name is on an album.
Well, that's a pretty cool credit.
Yeah. I've never bothered to mention it before on air, but hey,
but that's all a big part of the album, having people that were involved every step of the way. So yeah, it's great to give people credit where credit is due.
Yeah, because generally you're usually limited in the album cover or the album back, what you can put. And traditionally, obviously, the next obvious question will be, do your albums actually come out on LP vinyl albums? But yeah, and the sleeve, especially a CD, you've got such limited space, but with a CD, you can literally put a book in there. So there's really no excuse there. Now that I'm thinking about it, you can put more shout outs and creditations and influences of this album and this song and that, like show notes or album notes, additional behind the scenes stuff people wouldn't get unless if they're tuning into the show to hear an interview. But yeah, usually on a physical LP, your space is limited what you could throw on there.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Wham Radio, 1600 AM and 92.7 FM is your conservative flamethrower. Weekdays, Steve Gruber starts things off at 6 a.m. Gruber gives his perspective on the issues of the day. At 9 a.m., Glenn Beck blazes the airwaves with his nationally syndicated program. From noon to 3, it's Dennis Prager. At 3 o'clock, it's Wham's own Thayrone X. On the Edge, Thayrone tells it exactly as he sees it. At 6, it's The Dana Show, your conservative alternative. At 8, don't miss Joe Pags. Weekends are filled with conservative talk as well. Fingers Malloy, Thomas LeDuc, The Abolitionists Roundtable, A Moment of Clarity with Pastor Rick, Your American Heritage with Ed Bondarenka, Dave Janda's Operation Freedom, and Dick Kupke's Trigger Talk. You can even get links to Wham podcasts from Dave, Dick, and of course Thayrone, all from their pages on our website, whamradio.com. Keep it locked on Wham Radio, 1600 AM and 92.7 FM in southeastern Michigan, and whamradio.com anywhere in the world.
It is, yeah, it's very limited. And then, the CD, I have, just opening one up here. Yeah, so I do have the CD, and it does have quite a bit of information on it. So there's quite a bit on it. But yeah, look, I remember the old LPs, you get an album, you open it up, and then it have, all the songs written down inside. It had this pulled out, you see all these pictures and everything. But I don't have that on the CD, but what I'm going to be doing is my website's being worked on right now. It's being upgraded. And then once they're finished with it on the tech side of it, I'm going to be adding both my albums, my previous album and this album. I'm going to have a special section where all the songs are listed and the words to all the songs and a little bit of a story behind each one. So that is in the progress, and it's going to happen in the very near future.
By the time this show drops, that may be out. Do you have the domain registered already to share what the domain will be?
The what, sorry?
The domain name, the URL. Do you have that logged?
Yeah. It's there. It's active. It's just being worked on behind the scene to kind of pretty it up and make it. I can't remember the word they use now. Make it responsive to all devices. That's the terminology. Because
I'm a former IT guy, so yeah.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, I know. I get it right. Yeah, you've got so many people view on apps or a laptop or a pad, or you have no idea, so you've got to code it to kind of auto-correct for whatever size screen and device, which is difficult. So what's the link?
It's Robert Ross Music. And that's across all platforms. So yeah, that's Facebook, that's Instagram, that's my website, robertrossmusic.com. And then like on Facebook, it's Robert Ross Music. And then Instagram, same thing, Robert Ross Music. And if I say Robert Ross Music enough times, people will understand that it's Robert Ross Music.
That's why I joked with you about your name at the beginning. It's about getting it in somebody's craw, name recognition. Yep.
But it's very important to get that music part in there, Robert Ross Music, because there is also another Robert Ross who is a singer, a songwriter. He's a jazz blues.
Oh.
So and he's a great musician also.
I hear you, because I am Joseph M. Leonard. Again, Leonard without an O. It looks like Leonard, but there is a Joseph Leonard in South Carolina also publishes books. So yeah, you've got to be. That's why I had to throw the middle initial in there to make sure of the distinction. So I hear you. I'm with you. I'm glad you mentioned that. That makes clear to the audience, because if you put my name in, because everybody's so used to spelling Leonard with an O, if they don't mean Leonard, if you put my name in spelled correctly, you'll get, did you mean this person, that person, anyone and everyone but me?
That's right. And it can take you some places. It can probably take you some places you don't really want to go. So I'm not I'm not the British General Robert Ross, and I'm not the painter Bob Ross, and I'm not the blues player Robert Ross. So you have to find me Robert Ross Music, and you can find me across all platforms on that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's good. That's good. I like to keep my shows relatively short because these days I call it the twatter attention span. Right. Give me a headline. Give me a soundbite, even though those could be deceiving and misleading. Details matter, context matters, but if we go too long, people, 45 minutes, I don't want to be bothered with that, so I try to keep them short. So wrapping things up in closing, we've already given your robertrossmusic.com. Hopefully it'll be all done and active by the time the show actually drops. What else would you like to share as we close out the session?
Yeah, just, if people wouldn't mind to call up their local radio stations, request the songs, Drink 'em Down, Mama Song, and they're both out there now in the big wide world. You can download them on all the streaming platforms. There's Apple Music and Spotify and whichever other platform they so desire to use. So you can find me out there, Robert Ross, on those platforms. So going to be pushing these next 2 songs for the next little while. Going to be heading out on a radio tour in the very near future. So I'll be hitting some towns here, there, and everywhere throughout the U.S. And going to be up in Canada in September at the Canadian Country Music Association Awards. And just pushing these songs. So if anybody wants to hear them, head on over to the platforms, Robert Ross Music, and be sure to drop me a note. Say hi. Let me know where you're coming in from.
Yeah, people that are watching on the behind the scene video can see me holding my remote in my hand, and I'm doing that for a reason. I'm not finding them. I don't know where they are, but I was looking for on my dish, there's the Sirius XM channels. I take it there is a country station. Do you have expectation that the Sirius XM country channels will hopefully carry your?
Yeah, that's part of the drive that's coming up now. There's been a lot of stations that have picked it up already around the world, in Australia, Europe, throughout North America. And so we're looking at, because I've done quite well in Australia, but coming to the US, I'm a new fish in the bowl kind of thing. So it's trying to establish my place here and make my mark. And in order to do that, I need to do a lot of pushing behind the scenes, and I have a lot of great people help me with that along the way. So trying to make my place here in the U.S. so that I get known and get on the bigger play stations, the big reporting stations, Sirius XFM, I believe it's called, and there's a few other ones too. So that's going to be part of the push when we head out on tour for the radio tour, is to start pushing it more and more, just to develop my name in the business.
Yeah. Oh, so to close this out, let me put it in, how people joke about English, Spanish, Spanglish. They put this in Canuck Australian. It's like, put another shrimp on the Barbie and have a good day, and don't be sorry.
And throw an A at the end of that, and you get the Canadian content too.
If you get that reference.
Love and Doug McKenzie. Gotta love them.
Oh, I love them. Loved them a lot. Yeah, again, being over here in Detroit, CBC out of Windsor. Yeah, got a lot of that growing up. Yeah,
I'm sure you would have got the Red Green show too. So keep your stick on the ice.
I love Red Green. He is great. He's still out and out there doing tours too.
Yeah, it's amazing. He's still kicking along. He'd be pushing 90 something now, I would think.
He's up. He was old when I was young.
I know. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Robert Ross, for coming on the show. Again, these songs are the primary songs being targeted for release now are Drink 'em Down and Mama's Song. But the name of the release is what?
I'm sorry, the name of the release?
Release of the CD, the LP, the...
Yeah, the name of the LP, the CD is called Better With Time. And that's actually one of the songs. It's song titles on the album also. So, and that's something I think we all need to strive for, is to get better with time. And this album here is it's a testament to it. So it's a great album. The first album was great, but this one here, it's gotten better with time. It's an album I think that everyone will love and enjoy.
Amen. And unrelated or associated, somewhat related, wisdom that comes with age. And yeah,
we can only hope.
yeah, but we hope both figuratively and literally we do all indeed get better with time. So that's right. A great place to end it. Close it out. Thank you again, Robert Ross. Have yourself a great day.
Thanks, Joseph. Really appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me on, and thank you.
Happy to have you here. Thank you for having tuned in for ChristiTutionalist Politics Show. If you haven't already, please check out my primary internationally available book, Terror Strikes, coming soon to a city near you. Available anywhere books are sold. If you have locally run bookstores still near you, they can order it for you, or autographed copies are available online direct from me via terrorstrikes.info/shop. Be sure to check out more about today's discussion at thelibertybeacon.com, where my articles drop every Saturday. And let me remind, over time, the fancy high production items will come, but for now, for starters, it's just you as a very appreciated listener by me. All substance, no fluff, just straight to key discussion points. A show that looks at a variety of topics, mostly politics, through a Christian U.S. constitutionalist lens. So again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Take care. God bless. Like and subscribe to ChristiTutionalist Politics Podcast and share episodes. We need your help.
It is a myth that terrorism stopped during COVID. Unfortunately, mainstream media opted to prioritize pandemic hysteria over promoting all news. Terrorism continues. Simply hoping that it doesn't affect you is not a strategy. The new book, Terror Strikes, coming soon to a city near you, featured on The Author Show, is now available in paperback from bookstores, online, or as an ebook exclusively through Amazon Kindle. Terror Strikes, coming soon to a city near you by Joseph M. Leonard. Order today.